All right. So, okay, so we're going to do this scripts quiz thing. So you can see I have this cocktail DB. I opened up, right, the code base simply by doing like code space dot, right, and that opened up VS Code for me. And then, the first thing you might do, if you look at the code base, right, look over to the left, you see, right, we have data index test, right, all inside of this folder. So if you run PyTest, it should run this file, and that will run all the functions that begin with the word test, right? So we can see import error, cannot import name drinks by name from index. Cool. So you can essentially start there. That's these two. I wanted to skip these ones. I think these two problems just called the API. I think that everyone was able to get these. So we can skip this for now. Let's see if we do this one. Extract API drink. Let's take a look at this. Okay, then write a test in a function called extract API drink that, given the return value from the drink by API function, returns a dictionary with the keys of ID, name, main ingredient, and recipe. For example, given an input of the strawberry margarita response as seen in data.py, let's take a look at that. So given an input of the strawberita, I can't pronounce anything. Let's go to data.py. Strawberry margarita, is that here? There it is. So given this input, right, it would return the following. So this can essentially be our test. All right. So let's do this. Write a test in a function called extract drink API. Let's go over here. Let's do def test and underscore extract drink API. And then basically we want this function, extract drink API, to take an input of like some sort of drink, and then also take, like that will be the input here. And then it will, if I pass this drink through the function, it should return this data. Okay, so I can just call this is the output. And the input is really, so the drink input is this thing. Okay, so, and we know that because that's what it told us. Write a function that, given the return value from the drink ID, returns keys of ID, name, and main ingredient. Oh, and the recipe, which is this thing. For example, given the strawberry margarita. So that would be this thing. So really what we can do is say from data, import strawberry margarita, and then pass this through. And then we would just assert. I don't like the indentation. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. So now we'll just assert that when I pass this enormous data structure into my function, it's going to give me back this output. And then we can run the test. Let's just run the test. Okay. And it says cannot import drinks by name from index. So it's complaining about these two. It's just complaining about these two functions, but we're going to skip these problems. So that's fine. Okay. So now it says cannot import name extract API drink from index. That's what we want, right? So in other words, we're working with this test. This seems very relevant to this test, right? Cannot import name extract API drink from index. So that means that we probably need to put that here. Def extract API drink. And I'm just going to put the word pass underneath just to stub this out. And let's just run the test again. And now, Okay, now it says cannot import the name extract ingredients. If we want, we can fix all of these. Because it's just going to complain that each one of these things are not defined yet. So we can quickly define them if you want. So just do def and then just put pass underneath. Okay, this way we're not getting these import errors anymore. And we can start working on the real issue. Okay, now we're getting to something real, it feels like. Because we have this issue that extract API drink takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. So what is the issue here? The issue is that we're passing through correctly, right? If you look at the test, this strawberry margarita, right? The original, we're passing through this thing, where this thing is this large dictionary, and we're passing that through this function. You can see that right here, extract API drink, right? But the problem is that this extract API drink doesn't take any arguments. And you can see that in the error message. It takes 0 positional arguments, right? 0 arguments are taken, but 1 was given. This is the one that was given. So we can say, put a drink here, and then probably put like a breakpoint, just to like hit our function. So let's do this. We'll run PyTest. And now think about what's happening. It's running our test. It's passing through strawberry margarita, right? So it's passing through this thing into our function, extract API drink, passing this through, and now we're like kind of pausing it right here. So if you look at what is drink, if I type in drink, that would be the strawberry margarita, right? Because that's what's getting passed through. So see that? That's the drink. So now what do we need to do? Well, we need the return value. Or like, what should the return value be? Well, it tells us we need the ID, the name, instructions, and main ingredient. So let's do that. So we have drink, and it looks like we can go to slash, the drinks, and then the first element. So drink, drinks, square bracket 0, and that looks like, right, this is the drink, and it's a dictionary. Okay. So let's just assign this to be my drink. I don't like, I'll call this extracted drink, because I don't like the fact that I'm repeating. I don't want to repeat the same variable name in 2 spots. So I'll call this extracted drink. And now what do we need? I'm just going to write it down. We need this, the ID, name, instructions, main ingredient. ID, name, instructions, main ingredient. All right. And now we can basically just worry about getting these values. So for this ID, this seems good. String drink. And then we can look at the keys. That's probably what I would do here. Just to see. So this is ID drink. ID drink is the ID. The string drink is the name. And then the instructions, that's this thing, string instructions. So that takes care of a lot of them. And then the only other thing we're missing is the main ingredient, which is just string ingredient 1. That's not so bad. So extracted drink of ID drink. Extracted drink of, I forget if it's string drink. Okay. Instructions is this thing. Is it string instructions? Yeah. And then the main ingredient is just this ingredient 1. Like in the back of my mind, probably we're all thinking, is there a way to automate this anymore? But it doesn't seem like it. So, and the first thing anyway is just to get it to pass. So we'll return this dictionary, and then we'll call the test. And and see does this equal the output. And we have one passing. That's good. All right, so this first one is passing. All right, test extract ingredients. That brings us to the next one. So again, we pass through this same input, and it should return to us the name and then the list of ingredients. So again, I would just put a breakpoint here. And we know we're going to have to put in this drink thing. And then maybe even this, right? Because this is going to like get to that key. We can just put a breakpoint and run the test. So if you look at what drink is, it's the same input. So you have to go to drinks and then get the first dictionary. So that's what we do here. Drinks and then the first element in the list. And then what do we want to come back? I think it's just the name and the ingredients. So let's see that. So let's just, so name, comma, ingredients. And we can just put like hard code in the name and ingredients. And now we just have to generate these variables. So the name should be pretty easy. It's just this string drink thing. So it's extracted drink, string drink. All right, and that works. So this is our name. You can just put that here. And then the ingredients, just set it as none for now. Okay, so the ingredients, let's see. So we have, you can kind of see we have each one of these things. String ingredient starting at 1, going until 15. So what we can probably do is loop through these. So basically what do we want to do? Like we want to go through, like generate a list of string ingredient of these keys. And then we can, for each one of those keys, like access it from our dictionary. So for example, we can just, let's just generate a list of these keys. So say for I'm going to say for I in range, like 0 to 4, for I in range 15. Let's just see what this does for now. And then, if you just print out I, it generates the number 0 to 14. And then from there, what you could do is use an F string to do F string, and then just type in string ingredient I. So it's for each number, for each one of these numbers, that we just went the literal text. We'll update this in a second, but for now, just the literal text, string ingredient, and then that number. So it'll be, here we're going to start at 0. But, so you can see we're pretty close. All right, so we're just iterating through the numbers. When you do range, it starts at 0, right? So we're 1 off. And then we use an F string here to combine that with like the literal text. And then remember, when you do these squiggly brackets, it's like the Python. Right now we're into Python mode. So then from there, we can just do +1. So now we have the keys. So what you could do, we could say like, these are my keys, and then say like for key and keys, access the data from extracted drink, right? You could do like extracted drink, that's our dictionary, square bracket key. I'm breaking, like that. Maybe I didn't define it. Oh, there it is, extract. Oh, you know what? I think I'm just running into this issue with the interpreter. I'll just show you. We can do it this way. For key and keys, we'll call this my like values. It goes empty list, and then say for key and keys. It's not loving this. I'm just gonna have to code it out. So this is the right code, I believe, if we want to do this. So we can say these are probably my ingredients, where the keys are this. right? So the keys are this list of string ingredients, and then we're going through each one of those keys and pulling out the value by doing a square bracket of each one of these strings. And that will give us ingredients, and then we can do that. Let's just see. We'll call this my drink summary. And let's put a breakpoint here. So first, let's see if it worked. Here's my drink summary. Okay, we got pretty good, right? We have these none values here. We'll take care of them in a second, but this is pretty good. And we can see the way we got this was we generated our list of keys, and then we have this go through each key, pulling out extracted drink, right? This dictionary thing. Square bracket, you know, each one of these keys is like str ingredient 1, str ingredient 2. All right, so what do we do next? You know, the only issue is these ingredients have these none values. So you can just say like for key in keys, if extracted drink. You can do this. You can just do this. Why? Because like you could do if it's truthy, or if it's like not none. But remember, none is a falsy value. So what this will do is it will only select those values that are truthy, right? So, you know, whenever it's none, it will filter it out. It won't pass this if test. So let's take a look at that. I'll show you. So I exit out of this and run it again. And now if you look at the ingredients, see that it filtered out all the none values simply by doing this if truthy, right? And then if you looked at the solution, so this works, I believe. All we have to do, we can just return drink summary, or even better, just put a return value here at this point. And now we're passing both of them. If you look at the, the solution, you'll see I did this in one line essentially, or 2 lines, by just saying for I in range, right? I did something like this. For I in range. So go through the numbers, I to 15, and then here, it's the key, we'll just generate the key right here. And the key will be this thing. The F string ingredient. So and now for each one of these, we'll go through each one of these keys, pulling out the value if there is a value, if this thing. All right, and this should give us the same result. We don't need this anymore. Let's just run it and make sure. So you just want to make sure this still passes. Yeah, and we still have it passing. All right, extract ingredients and amounts. This is the same logic. You know, the only difference is for the amounts, it's we just want to generate. I think it's let's put a breakpoint here because I forget what the names of the keys are. So if you look at the extracted drink, you can see the amounts are here, string ingredient. It's just string ingredient instead of, oh no, sorry, it's string measure. So let's do that. So the amounts will be string measure for I in range. So go through each one, pull out the value of string measure if string measure. And we'll call these, and these are the amounts, I guess. And let's just see if we get there. All right, so let's look at amounts. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. if I look at the extract ingredients of the ingredients of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have 6, but I think if we like, so the problem is, someone pointed this out to me, that salt, right? There's no like amount that corresponds to salt, but I think we're still might be good. Let's find out. Let's just copy this line of code. So these will be my ingredients. These will be my amounts. Let's exit out of here. So we have these ingredients. We get 6. We have the amounts. We get 5. If I zip, let's do list zip, the ingredients and the amounts. It says it doesn't work. It might again just be this interpreter thing. Let's just see what happens. I'll call these my paired ingredient amounts. And then again, exit and run the test. Paired ingredient amounts. Yeah, this worked fine. All right, so you can see we have, these are good. So it, when there was a mismatch, it simply left that salt thing off. So here, what are we doing? We're zipping together these two lists, right? So it's pairing, if we have ingredients, right, and we have amounts, it's pairing these two things together to create a list of tuples. And then from there you can, I think what I said to do was, yeah, you can see, we just want to create, return this dictionary of name goes to this name, and then ingredients amounts goes to what we the value we generated. And let's just see if it passes. Yeah. So this one, questions about this? It's the same problem essentially as the earlier one. The only difference is now zipping these two lists together. And then the last thing to do is, I think just like split, like it was just like so here in this last problem, I ask you to like remove the ounces essentially and just leave it at numbers. So you can see if you look at the test that what you could do, what we could do, let's just pass it through this earlier thing. We'll call this extracted drink, right? And we can see this is not defined. Why is this not defined? Because we need an argument here. And now we're going to pass through our original data. Oh, never mind. We're not doing that. We're passing through. I'm giving you guys like this already coerced data. So we just need ingredients amounts. Sorry about that. So I'm giving you guys a list of tuples. I'm just giving you this stuff. And I'm saying turn it into, just remove the ounces. So let's put a breakpoint here again. So you can see my strategy is just like run the test, put a breakpoint, and start hacking away. So what do we have to work with? This, ingredients amounts. And what do we do? I would probably loop through each one of these. So I'll do it down here. So we can comment this out too if you want. I can put this here. So we start with data like this. And we want to say let's call these my ingredients amounts. All right, so for ingredient amount in ingredients amounts. In other words, for each one of these tuples. And really what you could do is you could Yeah, we'll do this for now. What do we want to do? Kind of return a tuple with the ingredient amount square bracket 0, comma, ingredient amount square bracket 1 dot split, because it's a string, and that will square bracket 0. And that will give me this thing, and then probably turn that into an integer. Something like that. It's complaining. I don't know why. Am I forgetting something? Comma. Maybe I just need to return this. No, it doesn't like that either. Ingredient amount. For ingredient amount in the list of ingredient amounts. Maybe someone knows. Let me look at the chat. I'm missing a close.
You're putting an extra comma before for.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
Thanks. This is still upset. Ingredient amount. I think it's ingredients amounts with an S. I think you are this is for ingredients. For ingredient amount. Hold on, let's see what it says. Ingredient amount is not defined. For ingredient amount.
You're still missing a parentheses after your second tuple. The ingredient.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that seems to be right. Why is that? Oh, because this is a tuple, and then this is an int. Oh, you see that, guys? We're putting an int here, so that's why we need these parentheses, and then we have this split inside here. All right, so that's kind of confusing. All right, let's try it. All right, that passes. So we are going through each tuple, just selecting the first element and returning it. And then we are selecting the second element, splitting it on the space, right? By default, it splits on the space. And then putting that value in an integer, right? Coercing that value to an integer. The other thing I probably would do is, remember, you can unpack these. So in other words, you can do something like, if you have this list of tuples, you can say for ingredient, comma, amount in ingredients amounts, right? It's just like a little more, and then we can do just return ingredient amount, right? And now this is, so I'm unpacking each one of these elements. So ingredient is strawberry schnapps, 1 ounce, right? And then with the amount, I still have to do the dot split, square bracket 0, and then turn it into an integer. And return it. Okay, so we're just unpacking here. Unpacking each one of these tuples. Let's just see if that still passes. Yeah, so we're still good. Use the tests, like the tests are run the tests, put a breakpoint here. Like, I think, people were trying to, I think, like, it was hard to understand sometimes, okay, well, what is each one of these variables? Like, what is the strawberry margarita thing? So one, you can always, like, click on it, press Command F, look for where it's defined, or Command click, right, to see it. So that's one thing. But then the thing I kind of tended to do was just put a break, run the test, make sure it takes the correct number of arguments, just put a breakpoint, and then look at it, right? Run the test. Let's just run it. And then I can just ask, well, what is ingredients amounts? Just, okay, and now let's just hack away with this, right? You could do it for 1, and then select this one pair, and now split it, right? So you could, like, and now, so right, once we start doing that, now it feels a little bit easier, like, then just select the first element here, There you go. And now just turn that into an integer. Right? Which is effectively what we did here. All right. Any questions? Anything you want to see again or go through with this? The solution is posted, I think. I forget if I put it in, I'm pretty sure I put it in Slack, but I'll also make sure it's in Canvas if it's not already. All right, and then the other thing is the SQL. Okay, modeling has many through. I won't do all these. I want you all to be able to do some of these. But just the idea here is, let's say we do this. And we'll do this one. All right, so we have doctors, patients, appointments, right? And we can go to Khan Academy SQL. I think there's like new or something. All right, see that? Yeah, I can put that in the Slack. So the idea here, I know the instructions were confusing for a few people. But the idea is, okay, like I'm giving you the basic stuff, but there's no foreign keys anywhere. You know, like there's these doctors. That's Greg House and Lisa Cuddy. There's the patients, but you kind of have to tell me, all right, well, how do these tables link up? And they link up through the appointments table, right? Remember we said like with our join tables, oftentimes they're an event or really like a transaction, maybe be like the better word. Like where do these entities come together? Where does a doctor meet a patient? Well, through an appointment. So what we can do is you would do like, all right, well, here's my doctor ID, and that would be an integer. And then here's my patient ID. Okay, and now you can see these are null, right? We haven't, and that's the other thing that you'd have to do is like just fill in some sample data. So date, let's do it this way. Date, yeah, doctor ID, patient ID. All right, and then we have to put in, okay, 1 and 2. Let's put in 2 and 1, 3. Oh, I think there's only 2.
Did you want us to make up these numbers? That's I think what we weren't clear on.
Yeah, you can just make up these numbers.
And did you have to specify the foreign key as a type? Like, because you have primary key, and then you have to specify foreign key?
Yeah, you can just do integer, and that's fine.
Oh, okay.
Because all like SQL will do is just look to see where this equals this. Right. I mean, in other, when we get to Postgres, yeah, you can, I think what you're asking is, do you have to put like ref foreign key or something like that? You don't need to do that. I forget if it's like this. But no, you don't.
Just because it matches the primary key, like above it, the foreign key, if there's something.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. Good, thought process. But yeah, you don't have to do that. Even here, like you don't, actually here you probably do for it to auto-generate. That's the difference, I suppose.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, but can you do the foreign key like you say?
I don't know if it will work in this context. In Postgres, it will. When we get to Postgres. Here, I doubt it. Yeah. So then from there, you just want to. Oh, Svi says it does work. So give it a shot. Seems like that will work. Okay, so let's say we want to find all the patients of Cuddy. Here's what I would recommend. Like, answer the question. So who's all the patients of Cuddy? So the answer is Dr. Cuddy. So it's these 3. So it will be 1, 3, and 1. So Jerry and Kramer. Okay? So now, let's try to do this. And I would just do this first just use one table. So select all from appointments where doctor ID equals 2. Is that right? That's all. That should be all the things of Cuddy. Doctor ID is 2. So we see Jerry had like 3 appointments with her. So now you can start to, if you just now say like where doctors.name equals, I think it's Lisa Cuddy. Right, that's going to break because it's going to say, hey, we don't have a column called doctors.name because you're not loading up the table. So what you need to do now is select, see this? Can't find a column called doctors.name. Why? Because it's not loaded into memory here. So then we can say join doctors on, and now notice now that this thing is duplicating probably multiple records here. Why? Because it doesn't know how to link up doctors and the appointments, and you want to link it up where the doctor's ID equals the appointments.doctor.id. On doctors.id equals appointments doctor ID. And now we're back to having our original answer. So this part is good, right? So we're like able to kind of confirm. Now the issue is that we want to see Jerry here instead of patient ID 1. So now we have to join the next table. Because right now if I do like patients.name, it'll say I can't find that column because we haven't loaded it into memory. So let's do that. So say join patients on patients.id equals appointments.patient.id. So you can just start to see the pattern too. And now, oh, it says join. That's a mistake. Select patients.name, join. Okay, so this looks better. And now if you want to do like, so this is pretty good, right? If you want to do it even better than this and avoid this repetition, let's do doctors.name first. This seems right. You could do distinct probably. And now this is better. Right, so we're distinct the rows on the patient's name. And maybe you would do on like maybe even better would be patients.id, right? Because I told you we could have some repeat names. So this makes sure we really have distinct patients. And that if there's 2 people named Jerry Seinfeld, that way we're getting both of them because we're giving everyone a unique ID. So that's the idea. All right. Think of like the main kind of transaction table. So there are more obviously of these. Go through them. If you've done this, if you've done most of them, this one's a little trickier. So try to do this one again if you've done it, or at least like model it out, like right after modeling, or discuss it with someone. All right, I can give you guys like 30 minutes to go through this, and then I'll deploy this has many movies. All right, I'm trying to think. I mean, the main thing is just remember, like, do the relations first, right? A doctor has many appointments. A patient has many appointments. And an appointment has one doctor and has one patient, at least in this model, right? So once you know that a doctor has many appointments, you cannot have the foreign key here, right? Because if you put a foreign, like an appointment ID, that's just for one row, there's one appointment ID. Like for one doctor, you're basically saying there's only one appointment, which doesn't make any sense. So we know we can't put an appointment here, an appointment ID here. That means like to reference it, it's probably the other way around, and instead an appointment has one doctor. Does that make sense? Yeah, like that seems to make sense. So I'm just saying, now I'm limiting to say that an appointment only has one doctor, but I'm okay with that. And I'm also saying an appointment only has one patient. Again, I'm okay with that, right? Same thing between doctors and patients. A doctor has many patients, a patient has many doctors. That means we cannot put the foreign key on either of these tables. So you're going to need a third table, right? So that's what I would do. Is the point is, if you think of the relationships first, is it has many or, belongs to? And if it's has many, you cannot have the foreign key there. Right? If I say a doctor has many appointments, you cannot put a appointment ID here. If you say a doctor has many patients, you can't put a patient ID here, because the second you do that, you're basically saying there's just one. So that's the process I would do. Write out the relations first, and then the foreign keys should follow from there.
Can you, Jeff, repeat this thing has many again?
Sure.
So you're saying doctor has many appointments. That should be one to many, no? One doctor can have many appointments.
Exactly. Like, think about this. If I, here's my doctor's table. I have the name, I have the ID, I have the name, and we have a doctor has many patients or has many appointments. Every characteristic of a doctor, I'm okay with putting, this represents one doctor. Like, here's the ID, it's Lisa Cuddy, right? Each one of these attributes, there's just one, for one doctor, there's one ID and there's one name, there's one hometown, etc., right? What if I say if I know in the real world there's many appointments, but then I put an appointment ID here? Well, that's messed up, because, like, how am I going to put this doctor? How am I going to give this doctor a second appointment? I guess I have to do like appointment ID number 2, But I don't want to just add another column every time I give my doctor a new appointment. So that's kind of my point, is the second that you say, oh, a doctor has many appointments, you know that there cannot be a foreign key there, right? That's different with like the appointments table, right? There we have like the ID is 1 and the doctor ID. Here I'm limiting appointments. I'm saying, well, an appointment only has one doctor. So are you okay with that? And yeah, right? And an appointment only has one patient. Are you okay with that? Yeah. If that's not the case, if it's like, no, I've been to doctor appointments where 5 people are checking me out, then you have to create another table, right? You have to, the way to do that is to create even another table called doctor's appointments or something. That's always the solution, where you say, okay, there was this appointment, it was just with one patient, but we had, this is the appointment ID, number 1, and the doctor ID was 1, and at the same appointment, there was also Greg House. There was both these doctors, right? So again, once it's like an appointment has many doctors, well, then our solution is to create another table. And this is just the link between a doctor, and that appointment. This doctor was at that appointment, and this doctor was also at that appointment, right? It's the same strategy. Once we know there's many, then we're not once I know an appointment has many doctors, then I can't limit it to just one by sticking a foreign key here. I create a separate table. Right? That was the same thing, that was the same problem we had here. Once I'm like, oh, this doctor has many appointments, I can't just limit Lisa to one appointment. Instead, I'm creating a separate table and saying, oh, no. Remove the foreign key here, because the foreign key limits you to 1, and say appointment, okay, here's the doctor ID, assuming that there's just one doctor per appointment. If instead there's many doctors per appointment, again, we can't put it here anymore. So we have to create a separate table and say, oh, this doctor is associated with this appointment, and this doctor is associated with this appointment. That's the strategy. Play with that, but my recommendation is write out the relationships first. Doctor has one, doctor has, and then try to see this pattern of, okay, an appointment has one doctor, has one patient, that's where that's where the foreign key goes, right? That's the key. All right. I think it feels like I confused some people.
Oh, Jeff, so the foreign key don't need to be unique, right?
The foreign key doesn't need to be unique. Do you mean, give me an example?
No, I mean like in a table, like you have primary key need to be unique, right? But
that's
foreign key,
correct.
how about foreign key?
So the question is this, the foreign key doesn't need to be unique. Like, for example, here I have the same doctor visiting two different patients, right? I'm repeating the same doctor ID, right? In fact, you could, depending on what this represents, say this is like a specific appointment. Well, we know that, hey, you can see a doctor, probably it's ideal to see a doctor more than once. So you could even have this combination that this appointment happened between this doctor and this patient multiple times, right? I mean, it's a different appointment, but it's the same meeting, right? Or the same visitation. Yeah, the primary key is unique because this is representing, this ID number 2 is representing this specific appointment. But this combination can occur again in this case because I'm saying, hey, these are two different appointments, right? That's the idea. This happened March or February 1st. This happened February 1st also. This happened February 3rd. So Lisa met Jerry on the 1st, and then Lisa met Jerry again on the 3rd. All right, I'm going to let you all practice this, and then we can review them if you want. I think we'll maybe review the last one. Okay? So this is